Welcome back to Let's Talk episode 28. Let's talk about conservative versus trans women, whatever that is. All right, so I've seen about 10 seconds of this video from YouTube, like the preview that it shows you, but other than that, I haven't seen anything. I'm going to give you my blind reaction to this video. We're going to see how it goes, and I don't claim to be some kind of expert. Like I'm not the type of person that's pulling out the stats that is, this study this time and it's something that I want to get better at, but I honestly just have common sense. I have a understanding of biblical principles, but not only that, just reality in general. And so I thought, let's watch this video. I can give you my honest opinion on it and we'll see how it goes. All right, here we go.
I kind of want to direct my question back to you since this is kind of where this started. Is there any nuance for you? Because to me, entering in a conversation like with you, it's easier for me because you are allowing nuance. And it sounds to me as if you're not allowing that.
Why is that?
Your immediate response, I think it was really clear where you're at in comparison to Emily's. I think am I off?
I don't think you're off.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you that I don't understand your lived experience because I've never lived an experience as a man. Or
I'm not living an experience as a
trans
man's friend.
person.
And I just want to be clear to everybody in this room.
Okay, so right off the bat, the minute that all of these men kind of freaked out at what she said, she, on the actual woman on the right, said, oh, I don't understand your guys' lived experiences as men. That is correct. As women, we don't understand what it's like to be a man, just like a man clearly doesn't understand what it's like to be a woman. I'm immediately reminded of the Dylan Mulvaney situation with the tampons, how he was carrying around tampons. You don't even, okay, sweetie, that doesn't go where the parts that, and I don't even have to continue, but it kind of reminds me of that. As a man, you don't understand what it's like to live as a woman and vice versa. This is the problem already right off the bat that makes me a little bit nervous for this video, is that the woman on the right, the minute that these guys got mad at her and started losing it, she was like, oh, trans women. Don't ever use the verbiage of the other side like that. Don't change what you know to be as reality, what you know to be as your morals, what you follow, what you know is true, just because people are getting angry about it. So right off the bat, I'm hoping that this doesn't become, trying to be kind or nice when it comes to the truth. I think that there is a way to kind of balance it. You don't want to be an absolute jerk. I totally get that. As the conservative people, we can come off as jerks sometimes in the way and in our tone. And so I understand, not wanting to come off like a total jerk, but at the same time, they don't ever change what they believe and what they say to match what matters to us. So don't ever do it for them.
That I was invited here as a woman. So if we're going to engage in a conversation with each other, I would appreciate the respect of being talked to as a woman for this conversation. You don't have to agree, but I'm not going to be in here and being talked to that way because we were invited here all as women.
You were actually invited here as a trans woman.
Yes, trans woman.
And when
That's
you
called
have
a
to put-
distinguisher, friend.
What does it truly mean to be a woman? In today's episode of The Bridge, conservative women and trans women come together for a raw, honest, and respectful conversation about identity, gender, rights, and roles in society. This isn't about winning an argument. It's about listening, sharing, and finding the human stories behind the headlines. Welcome to The Bridge.
Okay, again, I have an issue with the verbiage. It's not about winning an argument. It's about sharing stories. But the first clip that you see as the kind of teaser is this dude on the left telling these women that they're not allowed to share their stories or what they really believe is true. And so I think it's funny, the narrator saying, oh, this is about you guys sharing your experience, sharing your story. But for this guy, oh, unless it goes against my story, then you can't share it. Just an odd. It's also like, we're not here to win an argument. This isn't a debate. Yeah, probably because the conservative people would win because that's common sense. It's so frustrating. And also, I've seen some of these people in other videos before, and yeah, we're gonna see how this goes. Oh boy.
Hi, my name's Chrissy. I am a trans woman, obviously. and I'm in nursing school, just here to kind of say what I need to say, talk, and defend the girls as usual.
Hi, my name is Scarlett. I identify as a transsexual, and I'm just here with the girls for moral support.
Hi, I'm Blossom. I'm a powerful trans woman. You already know. And I'm here with
I've
my
seen you
beautiful
in other things.
sisters, here ready to engage.
Yes, hello.
See,
I'm
okay.
Stassi. I am a trans woman here to hopefully have a conversation with you guys. A good one.
Guys, gals, whatever.
Girl, you're good.
Everybody.
Don't worry.
My name's Emily. I'm a political media personality. And yeah, here to talk. Okay, yeah. I can put myself in the Republican conservative box.
Hi, my name is Kristen Nicole.
Isn't this Emily Saves America the one that's like freaking out about the ring situation? I don't even know what's going on with that on X. What's happening with the whole ring? Anyways, maybe that's not her.
I
Maybe
am
that's
a
her.
conservative Christian woman, and I currently serve as the president of the Orange County Young Republicans, and I live in Newport Beach.
Hi, I'm Angelina. I would also put myself as a conservative Christian. I'm a
Is she
senior
wearing
in
cat
college,
ears?
and yeah, I'm just interested to learn more today.
Or is it
Hi,
sunglasses?
my name is
Oh, it's
Jewel.
sunglasses.
I would put myself in the conservative box as well, but I am very middle
Interesting.
ground, and I love to hear everybody else's perspectives before.
Okay, I'm gonna pause it again. Again, why does it always feel like the people they choose to be conservative are like not really conservatives? I mean, this Jewel girl, which, hey, conservatives sometimes we don't all look the same, and that's good. We want that. But my point is though that she literally is like, but I'm more middle ground. Okay, so you're not really a conservative here to represent
Coming to my own
conservatives then.
conclusion.
Womanhood is defined by biology.
Okay, that's interesting. You saw the first guy on the
So
left.
my take on the whole womanhood is defined by biology is I just kind of feel like the debate is very redundant. I mean, you can say like, oh, trans women aren't biological women, but then also still say you should still treat them as women and we should still be treated as, just a normal woman. I mean, like I said, the whole point of going back and forth of this terminology is just there's no real point. And the people who disagree, it's very unlikely they're ever going to change. And the people who already agree on it, it's very unlikely that they're ever going to change. So people should just kind of I just feel like the argument's sort of pointless at this point.
I kind of feel
See, that might be something that we can agree on. I completely agree. The argument is absolutely pointless. So let's just all agree as a society that men cannot be women and that women cannot be men. And it makes me sad because a lot of friends that I had back in the day, they're making this argument and they're women that I looked up to. They're women that I thought, wow, this is a powerful woman, because it's good to be a powerful woman. You want to be. Just because you're not, and I am a powerful woman in my motherhood. I'm a powerful woman in when I do this in my career as a wife, as a caretaker of my home. And, we have this thing where I'm seeing all these women that are being like, yes, men can be women too. It goes back to the thing. It's so ironic that feminists fought for so long to be different from men, that we want to stand out other than men, that we want our own way. And now we're welcoming men into our spaces and it's just, yeah. So I completely agree. I completely agree. I think the argument is ridiculous at this point. So let's just stop having it and agree that men can't be women.
the same way. Like I just have a very different viewpoint on what womanhood encapsulates, like in terms of like everything. I think it's very I just don't think it's right to like make snap judgments like that about a situation that maybe you don't know, like what my experience in womanhood is. Like, just like maybe I don't know what yours is. I just feel that snap of like
I do.
making womanhood depend on
know that-
biology just feels wrong to me.
I believe it's 100% biology. I believe from the second I was born as a woman to when I die as a woman, that entire journey, as difficult and beautiful as it is mine. So it's always going to be different. But I believe every step of the way is affected by the fact that I was born a woman, I'm a woman, and I think it's very beautiful and sacred. And I would just never want that to be something that someone could just claim, I guess. So yeah, I think my whole
Yeah.
journey will be because I'm a woman.
Well, what if I told you that's
Extremely
my
well
experience?
said.
From the moment
It's not.
I could even form thoughts, I was a girl. Like, always has been, always will.
Okay. See, and this is like, you hear this argument a lot. I feel like I hear this a lot where people are like, I've known since I was 10. You've known since you were 10 years old that you wanted to be a woman even though you were a boy. And they're like, and they're always like, of course, because I can remember when I was a 10-year-old boy playing with Barbies and that's when I knew. No, maybe you just liked Barbies or something. I don't know. Or it's the same with women who become men. They're like, when I climbed a tree and all the other girls were playing with dolls. Like, no, maybe you just were one of those girls that was like, I don't like dolls. I enjoy other activities. It's like we take things and then but this guy is basing this definition off of now that's womanhood. That's not womanhood at all. Womanhood is 100% defined by biology. The fact that we can give birth and be mothers and that we have those parts to do those things. Because then you also hear that argument. Well, what about women who can't give birth? Well, we're all given that part. All right. Other than this very small percentage who are, have defects and whatnot. And so when you hear this, what if I told you that was my experience? What if I actually told you that it could never be? What if I actually told you that you're lying right now? That would be my. So if I was there sitting in that room and this guy was like, what if I told you that that was my experience? And I'd be like, what if I told you that that is not even close to true? And I actually don't need to know you at all, not even for a minuscule second to know that that's not true.
I was verbalizing that I was a woman or girl from the moment I could speak. So honestly, I relate, because I feel the same way. While
they're doing such a
your
good job of
experience
keeping
might
it
look a
cool.
little bit different than mine,
I'd be
I
shaking
feel
already.
that I feel the same. I was always a girl, was always a woman, am a woman.
Okay, then talk to me about when you got your period for the first time. Talk to me about going through puberty. Because I can rest assured that we were going through different puberty
now.
experiences.
And I think that things are harder to define rather than just looking in that black and white box of, oh, it's biology, oh, it's not biology.
black and
because
white
I think
box
that really
of science.
confuses what my
See,
experience.
and it's funny though, because then when it comes to abortion, they're like, well, the science doesn't back that up. The science doesn't back this up, what you're talking about right now. So you can't pick and choose. It's like being a Christian. You can't be a Christian and go, but there's this one part of the Bible that I just don't vibe with. Well, then I don't know what to tell you. You're either going to live it up and live out, or you're not, and you're not going to go with that. And I hate it because I don't want it to come off like I'm being mean to these people, because I actually really feel absolutely awful for people like this. My heart goes out to them genuinely, because I think sometimes these types of people truly believe that even though that they were born a man and God created them as a man, that they are a woman. And it's obviously a mental disorder. And it makes me sad because as a society, we're encouraging people to live out their mental disorder, which
isn't
isn't
also
right.
what you said, kind of like how different yours is,
I'd have to disagree with that. I have lived a woman experience, but you never truly have had a lived experience as a woman. You have to think about biology, chromosomes, hormones. You can't discount biology in reality. If you feel like you've had a lived woman experience, that's not rooted in reality. You actually don't.
That's your opinion.
That's exactly what I believe.
Yeah,
You're right.
Everybody.
Yeah, and I absolutely disagree and completely believe the opposite. So I can already see where this is going, bringing in spirituality. I've kind of just gotten the vibe a little bit, and I'm not on that same playing field.
But how could you truly know what
What
it
did she
is?
say? What did she say? I don't even think she said she was a Christian at the beginning. See, and this is what they do though. Oh, let's not talk about that. Let's not bring that up. Why? Because it's the truth. Why? Because it counters literally every argument that you would have. That's like saying womanhood is not defined by biology. Oh, let's not even talk about that. Why? Because the science actually backs up everything that I'm saying and not your point. And this guy's like, I can already tell we're going down there, so let's not even begin. Yeah. That'd be like if I'm planning a gunfight, I'd love to tell the other guy, hey, maybe leave your gun at home. I'm just not feeling it. Like, it's just not really my vibe. I'm not on that same playing field. So could you leave your gun
To
at
have
home?
a lived experience as a woman if you weren't born as a woman.
Yeah, how could you know what
Yeah.
my experience is as a woman if you've never been
'Cause
in
if
my
you had a
shoes?
period,
you
but
don't
I've
also
been a
know.
woman my whole life.
But,
That
res-
is your
but, res-
experience.
but
Yeah.
respectfully, you also don't know what it's like to be a trans
No.
woman. And I think that we get too
I
comfortable
don't know
reducing
what it's like
trans
to be a
women
man,
down
you're
just to
right.
their genitalia. Because let's be clear, when we talk about the experience of being a trans woman, it does
I don't
not
know if I'm
start
going to
with
get through this
biology. It
video
starts
without
with gender
pausing it every 5
identity,
seconds. I'm
gender
trying my best.
expression, and how we socially show up. My womanhood is not a threat to your womanhood. And I actually agree with you. I have
Okay, I got to pause it. That is an absolute lie. Okay, let's
my
rewind a little bit.
womanhood is not a threat to your womanhood.
That is a lie. That is a lie. We have seen this play out in multiple examples. We have seen this play out in women's sports. Your womanhood, which is actually you being a man dressed up as a woman, is a threat to me. You can hurt me. You have more strength. You are taller than I am. You have advantages that I don't. Why, you may ask? Look at the prompt. Because womanhood is defined by biology, just like manhood is defined by biology. And in sports isn't even the end of the example. You've got going to the bathroom. You've got predatory spaces like maybe a gym locker room, like a Planet Fitness situation, for example. So yes, your quote unquote womanhood is a direct threat to me, to my daughter, to my friends who are women. Anywhere I go, it is. And I know the old time argument. Well, those aren't real trans people.
And
Oh,
I actually
gosh.
agree with you. I have a
Mhm.
similar way of thinking of like, I was born this way, I will die this way. My experience is very sacred. And that's why I'm in alignment with all of you here to be able to share that. I just think that certain groups, certain people love to use the conversation around biology, but we don't want to talk about the nuances of biology. There are some women, some cis women who look more masculine than trans women.
Oh,
And does that
boy.
take away from their womanhood? So I really think that we really
No,
have to
no, no,
open
no,
up
no,
and
no.
expand
No, no,
and
no, no.
broaden on what it is to
Okay,
be a
well,
woman.
first off,
Like
though, the
intersex
prompt is biology. So it's funny, though, that this guy is already like, let's not talk about that. Let's not really bring that up. That's just like not really like, let's talk about the nuances. Let's talk about the nuances that sometimes women have more masculine features. There's still a chick down there. I'm sure that if we had that conversation, that would still be the case.
Like,
By the way, I
yes.
respect your opinions, but I 100% do agree with her. Most likely we do. I feel like that's almost like me being like,
Okay, quickly though, conservative women need to have other conservative women's backs. And I'm so serious about that too. And that the same goes for men, but in a woman's space, like we're talking about, they need to have each other's backs because there have been times where I've been in not even a debate, but just a conversation with somebody. And I'm next to somebody where I'm like, hey, remember when we had this conversation? But it was just the two of us, right? And I'm like looking to them to back me up and they won't because we're in public. And so, say whatever you want about this Emily woman. The fact though that she steps in and goes, I'm hearing you, but I'm with her. That I'm sure to that girl is like, thank you for
oh
having
no,
my
your
back.
experience is like a paraplegic. Like I'm totally there and feel for you. It's like, how could I even say that? That's to me, I feel offended being like, yeah, no, I've totally been there. Like we agree to disagree because you haven't. And you
I would
never will.
argue that maybe our experiences are more similar than you would think. Like
I agree.
really
No,
how
I know
I've
they're
like
not.
been exposed to certain things, and even
Like what?
as somebody who had not come out as a trans woman yet, I was going through experiences that
Like what?
women go through. And that may not resonate
what?
with you, but it's not really your place
But
to tell
what?
me what I experienced and what I didn't.
Yeah, I was born a woman. Everything about
But like
me is
share
a
those
woman.
experiences. What are you talking about? Like I want to know what they're saying. They're like, we share more experiences than you think. Okay, give me some examples. Like what age did you get your period at? I'd love to know. What time did you start going through puberty? We all know what that means, ladies. Okay, like I'd love to know because they're not going to have those related experiences. And so that's something that I'm hoping that maybe Emily or one of the other women ask is, okay, so you keep talking, and this would be my thing, I would say. If I was there, I would say, so you've been talking a lot about your experiences as a woman, that we have a lot of similar experiences. I would love for you to share some of those experiences with me so that maybe we can connect because biology is a very big part of it. And so when we're talking about being a woman, I would love to hear what experiences that you have been through, because womanhood isn't defined by picking out the clothes or dating boys, which I'm sure are the
Hardships
experiences
I go
that we're
through
talking about.
every second of every day, being a woman, going through, I mean, I don't want to talk about too much personal stuff just because I am a public figure and most of it's extremely traumatic, that I think probably every woman goes through. But just from being a little girl, going through puberty, being around men, I've been in LA, was going out at a young age, through dealing with health issues, periods that sent me to hospitals up until this day, hormone issues, constantly dealing with also being a public figure and my image and all these things. It's just so difficult. Sometimes I'm like, the fact that we work is so crazy to me because what I emotionally go through 24/7. I've dealt with cervical cancer, which has been the most traumatic thing I've ever gone through, multiple times, multiple surgeries. Women's healthcare is genuinely medieval. It makes me sick. I am very pro-woman. I hope that comes across. And I'm just like, my entire journey, my hormones, what I was born at, my biology makes me who I am and takes me on this journey. And I just always want that to be something respected because I really feel for women. What we go through is just, thank God I am in this country. If I was somewhere else.
Oh, yeah.
There's always room for nuance. I do agree. I totally understand a different perspective. I can respect it. I just might not agree with that, but I don't want that to be like, oh, I'm shutting you down as no, and I'm right. Because I don't want it to be that. I just want it to be like, this is just my journey. And the older I get as a woman, I'm 31, I want to get married. I want to have kids. And I see what women.
I don't know. Is that just me? Is that just like the instigator in me that's like, I was with her. Like, I was totally like, yes, I'm hearing you. This is the type of stuff I wanted you to bring up. The periods, the puberty, the biological stuff. Yes, 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 yes. But when it came to when she said, I don't want it to be, well, I'm right and you're wrong. You are right and they are wrong. And I get that the narrator set this up, not a debate, not a debate, not a debate. But you can't bring two people who have such different morals. And it's not a debate. It's just one side is correct and one side is incorrect. This isn't, bikes should be let on the road. Now, I think that bikes should not be on the road, right? But this isn't some moral dilemma, right? That would be okay to bring a prompt like this and then discuss without it becoming a debate. Because our morals don't hinge on it. What our spirituality, what our religion says, but not only that, what reality says hinges on this. So to say, I don't want this to be I'm right and you're wrong, it is that. And maybe she's just trying to play into the politeness factor, and that I can kind of see just letting the conversation be open. But I hope this doesn't become conservative women continuously falling over, flailing over their words so that they can be nice and politically correct to grown men who get to say whatever they
children.
want.
I just think we are like the most like magical creatures, and I just want that magic to remain, if that makes sense. I just think it's really special.
I would say where I feel like a lot of overlap does come in between lived experiences is between, societal, like living how society views you. No one is sitting here thinking she is a man in any capacity, so when she's walking out,
you're gorgeous.
Everyone's thinking,
and so are you, by the way. I don't look at you guys.
No,
like,
don't
dude,
worry.
it's like, no.
Yeah. And,
like genuinely, that's
it's gonna bother me. That's gonna bother me because I'm also not coming out and saying start being mean because I know and what I'm saying, people are gonna be like, wow, she's really mean. She's really harsh. I'm just rooted in reality. And I can't tell if this Emily girl is like trying to play into this so that she can keep the conversation flowing or if she like genuinely believes this. I don't know her very well, but the way she's like, you guys are genuinely beautiful. It's like, I would never look at you and think you're dudes. You would never look at these people and think that they're dudes. The only person that is semi passing is the dude in the black strapped heels with the white socks and the white outfit. That is the only guy that is even somewhat, I could be like, kinda, maybe. Okay, and again, I'm not being mean. I'm just rooted in reality. So for this Emily girl, like, we're already folding. You can't go from one sentence to say, women are so magical. I love their magic. Yes, we are magical. We are extremely magical to, and you guys are stunning. You guys are beautiful. I'd never think you were men.
When we go out and like, let's say, no one knows, we have our names changed and everything. When we go on a job application, we're going to be applying basically as a woman. So we're going to be treated as a woman. You know, when we walk out of the house, you're going to be treated and seen as a woman. So I think in societal standards, there is definitely some overlap. But I will say, I also agree to the point of there are experiences, you know, none of us could ever understand when it comes to womanhood. And when it comes,
And I appreciate
yeah,
this guy
and you know, but
saying
I
that.
feel like that's
Thank
also
you.
where
I
it
think
comes
that's actually
into
really
the,
respectful.
yeah, that comes to the uniqueness of like trans womanhood, you know, growing up trans, living trans, you know, just in the same way, I'll never know
but
what it's like
I
to grow
can
up
respect what he
and,
said.
you know, have my first period or anything like that. You know, none of you would ever know what it's like to grow up and know you're one way, but physically you see it in another way. And then to live that.
See, and
you
that's a
know?
mental
And I guess I
disorder.
kinda
And so
wanna direct
I
my
actually would
question
agree
back
with
to you,
that.
since this is
I
kinda
would
where
kind of agree with that, where this guy said, you guys will never know what it's like to grow up and be one way, but see yourself as a different way. And he's correct. Just like I struggle with anxiety, and somebody who doesn't struggle with anxiety would look at me and go, I could never live that experience. I could never share in that experience. And that's correct. The difference is, though, I'm not going to call you a trans woman. I'm not going to call you a woman. I'm going to call you a man with a mental disorder. And my heart goes out to you. And I pray for people like this genuinely, because it kills me that people actually live their life this way. Because one, it's obviously not what God intended for them. But two, I know what it's like to live with a mental disorder. I've seen family members, friends of mine who live with mental disorders, and it is rough. And so when this guy is saying there are experiences we can't share in, but there are experiences that you can't share with us, that is 100% true. But that's not womanhood. That's a mental disorder.
Is there any nuance for you? Because to me, entering in a conversation like with you, it's easier for me because you are allowing nuance. And it sounds to me as if you're not allowing that.
Why is that?
Your immediate response, I think it was really clear where you're at in comparison to Emily's. I mean, am I off by that?
I think you're off.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with you that I don't understand your lived experience, because I've never lived
Okay,
an
this is the clip that we
experience
saw at the
as a
beginning.
man. Or
I'm not living an
a
experience as a man
trans
friend.
person.
And I just want to be clear to everybody in this room.
See, and now this is something where Emily should stand up for her, whatever her name is. I think it was Christy. I don't know. And say, I mean, I got to stand with my sister here. Like, she's spot on. Like, or one of these other two women who haven't talked.
That I was invited here as a woman. So if we're going to engage in a conversation with each other, I would appreciate the respect of being talked to as a woman for this conversation. You don't have to.
And if that was me sitting in that chair, I would listen, and I would nod, and I would say, well, with all due respect, I will not change my morals and the way that I think and the way that I believe and the way that I know reality is, the way I'm rooted in reality, just for you to sit here. This isn't my production. I don't get paid to be here, or maybe she does. Or if she does get paid, and if I were getting paid, if I were sitting in her shoes, I would say, you can have my money back. I don't have anything hinging on this video. I will stand rooted in my reality. I will say the truth. And if you would like me not to call you a man, then I just simply won't address you. And maybe we can continue like that. And again, that's not me being rude. That's not me being snarky. That's not me being mean or a bully. That's just me saying, you're not going to sit here. And this is something where we're sharing our lived experience, sharing my story. And I can't say what I want to say, but you can say what you want to say. That's not how this is going to go.
I'm not going to be in here and being talked to that way, because we were invited here all as women. Be
You were
clear.
actually invited here as a trans
Yes,
woman.
trans woman.
when
That's
you
called a
have to put-
distinguisher, friend.
When you put trans or another word in front of woman, it's not actually a real
Tall
woman.
It describes the woman.
Short woman?
It's an adjective.
You don't
It's an
have to do that
adjective.
for
Trans
a
woman
woman.
is a type of woman, and that goes under the whole umbrella of what
Yeah,
womanhood
this girl,
is.
that wasn't probably the
But going
best
back to the
thing say.
regular question, the whole question around biology, like I said, you want to open up the conversation for nuances.
Mhm.
So what do we say to women who have naturally higher testosterone levels, who look more natural, who look more masculine because of something that we call genetics? Because genetics is something that you cannot control. So do we take away a woman's womanhood because she's more masculine, because she's a tomboy? Or is she still a
No.
woman? Because like
No,
That's-
because does she get a period? Does she have lady parts? Or even that, what do her chromosomes say?
so that could become a whole social construct around that. See,
No.
I think what Stassi is saying is like you have to allow like nuance to be able to flow in, to be able to understand that. Like just y'all being a conservative woman, I like to know what your definition of conservative is, because is it more just political, or is it because like you carry yourself a certain way? Do you dress a certain way? So I can understand a little bit more.
I would love to jump in
Good
on the
question.
topic of what is a conservative woman. For me, it is number one, my faith. My faith as a Christian informs every aspect of my life. And so that's going to be mainly where I'm leading through. Second is family. I think family is a really important thing to me and many conservatives.
See,
so when we
and
talk
I already
about
know they're going to
laws
shut
and
her down because of the
society,
faith situation.
many conservatives are concerned about what is going to affect the family unit. Third is tradition. Conservatives lean towards a more traditional vibe, if you will. So we're not so much about
like this
tearing
girl.
apart the entire social constructs and ripping it all apart and starting new, because we value what generations before us have done and we find wisdom in that. And so it's like you're
okay,
looking at
I
a
like
road and you
her.
see a big rock there, and some people may think like, okay, tear the rock out, build a fence, do all these things. But when you lean conservative, it's more like, okay, why is the rock there? Let's do a little bit more research behind that. Let's find out what the generations before us did about it. That's kind of where I lean. And so that's kind of what informs my conservative Christian
I like the
attitude.
way that she
Oh,
holds herself.
Thank you for
and
saying that.
frames
Yeah.
it.
And can I just mention one thing? Because you're conservative more
I
leaning,
wouldn't
right?
call myself conservative, but I would see myself as more kind of right leaning on some issues. The reason for that is
Interesting.
just simply because of, not even necessarily because of like LGBT issues, because I mean, I think it's pretty obvious my stance on that, but more so when it comes to just things like, gun rights. And I'm also pretty traditionalist, surprisingly, but, when I have like my husband, I want to just have my husband, have my kids, just have my family. And I believe, as a trans woman, it's
See,
my right
and
to do that.
okay, I'm going to break it down. Somebody like this, right? I think it becomes so, and maybe I'll be proven wrong the later this goes on. Somebody like this, though, makes me think that this is just truly a mental disorder for them. Because the other things that they're saying make sense. He's making sense. And it is fair of him to want a family, to want children. But he's coming at it from the wrong perspective, which is he thinks he's a woman. But he's like, oh, gun rights for sure. I want to have a family. I want to live in that traditional marriage, And so it's like, I feel for somebody like this. It breaks my heart because society is encouraging this man to live out as a woman, to live out his mental disorder, when maybe if he was a man, he'd be so much happier and can still have all of those things and all of those points of view. Now, see, somebody like this Stasia guy that's on the far left, it makes me think it's yes, a mental disorder, of course, but it's also more of, I want to be right. I'm popular and I want to have this fame and be unique. And so I see somebody like this,
to
my
be like
heart
the motherly
goes out
figure,
to
go
him.
adopt my child and, raise my family how I want to raise them and, do all that. So yeah, I guess I'm, like I said, when it comes to the whole right versus left thing, I'm kind of in the middle, but, slightly right leaning on.
And I think you bring in a
on
little bit more nuance. And that's what I can kind of respect, even though I may not
Oh,
agree with
my
everything
goodness,
that you're
I can't
saying. Or
listen. I
even
cannot hear
everything
the
that
word
you're
nuance
saying.
one more time.
You're allowing nuance where I feel this prompt does not allow nuance at all, because I just feel it's so black and white sometimes in the
there
way
is
that
no
things are
nuance
said,
to
specifically the way that
biology.
you directed your comments. I just feel it's so like close-minded.
Do you know why though that this guy is like a freaking obsessed with Emily? Because he was like, she was like, Emily was like, I don't see you guys as men. I think you're all beautiful. And now, of course, this guy on the far left is gonna be all over her for the rest of the thing. But since this girl next to Emily, who said she's a Christian and professed her faith and said, I'm not going to call you a lady, now we're going to get mad. See how you have to change what you think. You have to change your rhetoric and your verbiage to match what they want. But the minute you go, well, actually, this is my opinion and I'm not going to add any sugarcoats. I'm not going to compliment you. This is my God-given opinion. This is what I think. They're
Like,
going to lose
I
their
can
minds.
hear you. I can respect that.
Of course
I'm
you
having a
can,
harder
because she
time.
said you were beautiful.
I'm having just a little bit harder of a time with you.
Just to give her some slack, I 100% agree
Thank
with
you.
what you're saying. And I think
Thank
when we're
you.
having these conversations,
Thank
I mean, I have in mind, okay, you are trans individuals. Your mindset through all of this is going to be from that mindset. So if I don't completely agree with what you're saying, duh, because we're on the opposite side of the spectrum. So if you're saying us, conservatives, some of us are Christian, you're going to see that we believe a certain way. We wouldn't come on an episode if we didn't believe strongly about that. So you gotta give a
Yeah.
little in
Thank
that
you.
situation.
I just want
Thank
to
you.
also say that there are some trans women that are also Christian and that are also
Period.
conservative and liberal. I'm very much more liberal. And so I think a lot of what you name, I think the point I want to make is a lot of that can be applied to trans women as well too. And so when we understand that our liberation is actually linked or whatnot, I feel like that these conversations can become a lot more fruitful. And that's the reason why I really asked about the whole conservative thing, because I think there's different levels to conservatism. Some are more radical. It doesn't look like y'all are that radical, thank goodness. But yeah, but for what you're giving today, in this moment right now, it's fine. It's fine. And so I think it's really important that we actually ask.
Yeah,
what is
I
what is
love
the
how they say, Emily, we saw videos. They basically just said, we saw you. Oh, I was scared. But now that you're here complimenting us guys, then we're thrilled. It's like,
woman.
Emily, what?
And
I'd love to know
understand
what her
that there's
thought
different
process was
types of
going
trans
into this.
women. I am probably one of the most liberal, loose trans women up here on this panel, and I'm proud
Liberal
of that,
loose.
And so
Okay.
some of the same traditions
what
and
that means.
values that you have, I also have. And so that's what links us together. And so I think when we have conversations around biology and chromosomes and what's male, what's female, gender identity, all of these things
So
and
science
whatnot,
and
I
reality.
feel like sometimes it drifts us apart because we're not willing to listen to
Yes,
each other
because
and like
I
look at
want
the
to go with
science
my morals and what's
just understand that. And
real,
so I
and
just
you
wanted
want
to
to go
bring
with
it back
what's
to a
fake, so that would
place
drift
of
us apart.
unity. That's
Well, then I
my
have a
goal.
question for you. Since so we do get some more middle ground with each other, what do you think those shared values are?
So
Thank
to me,
you.
womanhood is a social class. We
No.
are put in a hierarchy, societal wise, in the way that we are objectified, the way we are sexualized in porn and on the streets by men, the way our government dictates what we can and cannot do to our bodies, the way the government withholds funding to research medical facilities and things for our bodies as well as biological women's bodies as well. There are many things that we overlap with. And when I look at all of you, I see the similarities before I see the differences, but I also see the struggle. I work in I don't want to say exactly what, but like I work with women every single day and they tell me about the different things that happen to their body where they have miscarriages or periods. And it is very hard to watch and listen to. And all I can do is support them and know that they have somebody to look up to. So, I mean, you can think I'm a woman or not. It doesn't really matter to me, but I see the similarity and I see you as a sister to me. If I saw you on the street,
I mean, yeah, guys and girls have similarities. Like, my husband and I just went on a walk tonight, and for like 5 minutes, I went on a rant about why Tobey Maguire is the best Peter Parker, Andrew Garfield is the best Spider-Man, and Tom Holland is okay. All right? And that would usually be considered in society a guy thing. Superheroes, knowing all about that. But I would actually say I know more than my husband about a lot of those things. But that doesn't make me a guy. Or the fact that my husband sometimes watches my girly reality shows and enjoys them. According to society, those are more meant for women. So does that mean
I'm going to do whatever
he's
I
a
can
woman?
to protect
No.
you. And I would hope that you would do the same thing for me. So
See, if you wanted to protect me, you would encourage other men to stay away from me in
that's
my
just
private
right.
spaces.
And I just
That'd be
want to offer
cool.
you
I'd
that
love
space
that.
too, because I'm not trying to go in on you. Obviously, I
You
just am
are, but
very.
it's fine.
I guess I'm just curious. I'm just very
That's
like.
why I'm here.
Yeah. Hey, I think that's
By
why
the
we're all
way,
here,
like you
girl.
said, we are going to have severely different levels of conservatism.
Yeah, absolutely.
And religion, all these things are going to dictate the way we see things and respond to
100%.
things.
Trans women should be included in women's sports.
No. Men should not be in women's sports. Please,
I'm not too
gosh.
informed about this topic. I kind of just get my media from. I follow an independent page that is unbiased, but I do believe, going on the whole biological thing.
Yes.
When it comes to that, I believe that women and men in general, they do have different structures for their bodies. They
You are
have different
correct.
ways of being able to build muscle, build up their bodies. And I just believe that women should have their own section. And I feel like possibly trans women and trans men should have their own section dedicated to them, because maybe that would also give them more of a spotlight as well.
And I can respect that. I feel like there's just not enough of us. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
I'm a little bit I've debated this topic a lot. If you follow me and follow my platform, and I definitely want to respond to a lot of what you're saying. First of all, I would say trans women are women. They're not men. I understand what you're saying. You're probably talking about cis men and cis women. Bodies are different. I totally agree with that. I am a personal
Trans women
believer
are
that
men.
trans women do not have a
One second.
competitive edge.
Wait, let me pause this quick. Trans women are just men.
Have trans
Period.
athletes like Leah Thomas who won 5th place in swimming. She didn't win 1st place. And the thing is, when it comes to trans athletes,
Riley.
their hormone levels have to be
Riley
at a certain
Gaines.
level to be able to participate in the first place. And a lot of the controversy with Leah Thomas was she tied in 5th place with Riley Gaines, who I'm not too fond of myself. And so it was this whole conversation around,
Riley, sweet.
can trans women
she's
have
so
this competitive edge? Absolutely not. It goes back to the conversation that some women have higher levels of natural testosterone than some trans women. And we do not always have the competitive edge over cis athletes. There are plenty of trans athletes out there. Now, there's not enough for us to be able to compete in our own sports. So that's why it's important that trans women play with women in sports. Now, the reality of it is we don't give trans men this same slack and this same mouth like we do trans women, right? And so my question always becomes, why is
I don't know about you guys. I'm anti trans mental disorder, everybody. I don't care what you think you are. If you think you're a guy and you're a girl, or a girl and you're a guy, then you're wrong.
Why
care
do
what the
conservative
title is.
women not give trans men the same flack that they give trans women in
do.
sports?
I do.
would love to know the
I will.
answer to
I'll
that
start.
question.
So for me, I grew up playing sports. Water polo was my thing. And even now, like I do martial arts, right? And so even in water polo, sometimes we would have to practice with the boys. And it was humbling to see the disparity between me as an 18-year-old girl, senior year on varsity, versus a 12 to 14-year-old boy. And that's not because I sucked. That's because they're growing muscles, and there's just, when it comes down to it, you can't fight that biology. And so when I see, the argument that trans individuals should participate in women's sports specifically, and to answer your question, why?
See, even what she did right there is different than what Emily has been doing. Now, I think don't ever use their verbiage ever, because then you're conceding. You're losing. But even what she just said, trans individuals instead of trans women, instead of trans men, even trans individuals, to me is we're not there, but it's slightly better.
Trans women targeted so much is because trans men are not going to be winning athletic competitions against biological men, right? Biological women are the ones.
I disagree with that. Patricio, what was Patricio's last name?
It is about
He's won a couple of
900
boxing matches against cis men. Patricio Emmanuel, I think that's his last name.
But that's
yes,
few and far between, right? And so when we're thinking about somebody, especially after they've gone through puberty, they have the muscle mass of a biological man, they have the lung capacity of a biological man, they have the bone density of a biological man.
Everybody's size and everybody's body
scenarios,
chemistry is actually different. You cannot actually measure the size of somebody's heart, somebody's lungs to be able to determine that. There are some cis women who have a higher agility than trans women, because again, Leah Thomas only got 5th place. These trans women are not getting 1st place across the board. And so I just want to make sure that we're not being intellectually dishonest about people's body chemistry. It is a case-by-case basis. All trans women, all women are not made the same.
I would really love to hear
I'm
the rest.
starting to see how this works, that we cannot listen to facts or reality when it comes to things against us, but I want to make sure we're not being intellectually dishonest
Of what you were trying to
for
say.
sure.
Yeah, so I just think when it comes down to it, we can say there's an outlier here and there, or there's an outlier where a transgender woman matches the hormone levels. But when we're looking at the averages of a group, a biological man is always going to beat out a biological woman. And so when we talk about, right, like feminism and everything, and like giving women
But
opportunities,
trans women does not start with biology. It's gender identity.
just let me finish this one point.
No, sweetie.
For like feminists,
Nope.
I don't know if you like proclaim yourself as feminists, but I would think that a big part of feminism is giving women opportunities. A big part of a lot of girls like me and friends that I have was getting scholarships in sports to go to college. That's how a lot of my friends were even able to go and pursue a degree. And so when they're being beat out, there's like 900 instances globally where trans women
Can you
have
show
beat
those
out.
resources? I don't think so. And
Yeah.
if your
Well-
feminism does not include trans women, it's very problematic. I just want you to know
Well,
that.
That's what I
Yeah,
was gonna
there's
say.
there's many instances where trans women have beat out
Please
biological
name a
women,
few.
and that's a sad.
I would love
I
to.
would love to
We would
hear.
love to know those resources.
Well, you mentioned Leah Thomas. I know you said that Leah Thomas tied with Riley
She would have
Gaines.
got 438th if she was competing against
Right,
other
and
men.
so that's what we're talking about when we say like those opportunities are taken. And I'm sure you believe that Leah Thomas should be in there, but that's one
So
spot
what
that
about
could
the
have
first
been
four
given to a
women that
biological
beat
woman.
Leah Thomas and Riley Gaines? So what about those women? They were cis women. They were biological women. They were not. Excuse me. I'm. Hold on. Let's not interrupt a Black trans woman when she's speaking. Leah Thomas got 5th place.
But you do interrupt.
I know, to
Leah
her
Thomas got
Yeah.
devil's advocate.
You've been interrupting and talking the whole time over this lovely, sweet woman who I'm going to find her on social media, and I'm hoping that her social media presence is exactly as kind and sweet as she is right now. See, now this is the difference. Okay, now I get she said trans women, trans men, not my most favorite because I don't think you should ever use their verbiage. But this is the difference between Emily and this lovely girl in the third from the left who's talking. Emily, you guys don't look like dudes. You guys are beautiful. Oh my goodness. And this girl, she said biological men. She said men. She's standing up for what she's thinking, but she is being very kind.
So
when
much
the black
more.
trans, when the only black person
No, but since you're a man and you're talking,
is
I'll
on
interrupt.
set, when the only black person's on
What does
set,
that
I think
matter?
that we should prioritize the black voice
What's-
here.
no,
So I'm
I
just
know,
saying-
I don't agree with that. I don't
No,
agree with that.
if you
Also,
say that we're
are
all
we being
women and we're all
racist?
equal, then
I don't
why,
care.
Racist today?
then why would you being
But that's fair.
black make you any different?
Yeah.
Oh, it makes me powerful. Wink, wink.
So I'll keep it short and sweet, but at the end of the day, I really believe in giving women as many opportunities as possible. And if you come from an athletic background, you know how hard young girls work all throughout their young adult lives to get to be in a Division I college athletic spot. And so when we have these opportunities torn from young women, whether it's first place or fifth place, it's a sad thing. And many of you self-proclaimed feminists, you know, you say that you stand for uplifting women, but at the end of the day, biologically, you are male. And so that is sad that you're taking that spot, or you're advocating for taking that
I
spot
would
away from a
appreciate
biological
the
female.
respect. The respect.
I
here.
don't think they
What
know
did I
how to
say
give
wrong?
the
No,
respect.
well, some of them
I don't
do.
think
Some of them are being respectful.
You're a trans woman, you're biologically male. Is any of that wrong?
No.
Okay.
First of
So
all,
I feel like I've been respectful.
no, again, trans women start with gender identity, not biology, because cis people, when it comes to that conversation, it's more about cis people matching with their biology. I just want us to get past that. Stop reducing trans.
We will never get past that because that is reality. You don't have to be a Christian, or even you could be the strongest atheist there is. I don't give a rip. It is reality that you are biologically a man, and that's what she said. How she's even given into their verbiage a little bit. Oh, you're a trans woman, but you're biologically a man. Am I wrong? Silence. They're like, and of course, you want to get past that because it's
Women down
correct.
to biology.
Yeah.
This
I
makes no sense.
think,
That's what
I
makes
think
the
in this
conversation so rough.
topic of conversation, when you're talking about sports, it has a lot
I
to do
think
with
you're
biology.
absolutely
Yes.
incorrect, and that's the thing. I can sit here and show statistics to you all day long. Leah Thomas got 5th place. She did not get 1st place. There are 4 biological women that beat Leah Thomas and Riley Gaines. So your point is minute to me. I'm sorry, but
I think
please,
the-
one of y'all could go ahead and jump in there, please.
Okay, so I will say where I think you know, you guys are gonna disagree with me on a little bit on this is where I definitely think there's a lot of sports trans women 100% can compete in that they don't have an advantage. You know, like I always saw conservatives getting mad about a darts competition, and it's like, you know, why are we getting mad about a trans woman in darts? You know, there's nothing that's gonna give her an advantage, and it was
Okay, but at the end of the day, though, and maybe I'm just speaking for me. Maybe I'm the lonesome conservative out here who thinks this. Yes, I do have issue with the advantage. I do have issues with the physical advantage. But even in this example he's giving, a darts competition, you're correct. If we're talking about a physical advantage in a darts competition, you sound dumb. Okay? That's not really real thing. That's not the core of my argument. The core of my argument is you are coming into my space and saying lies and being a lie and living a lie. That is the core. So I'm hoping that somebody says that. I get that. That's totally fair. The darts argument, I'm with you on that. That's a little silly. The core of my argument, though, the core, the very, very core is that I am rooted in reality. And when men come into my space and go, I'm a woman, I want to play too. You're not a woman. That's a lie. So I don't feel safe around
Unisex.
you.
It wasn't like anything. They were mad because her opponent was a woman, a cis woman, or I'm sorry, just for video terms. But so like I will say, I think this debate does get silly in some points. I think it does go too far in some points. But then I will agree that there is some sports where there definitely is an advantage. Like you said with Leah Thomas, before transition, she was 400th something, and then post transition, now she's 5th in women's. And there are women who definitely can beat her. And the problem with that is, as you said, we're going on an average sort of basis here. So we can't really let the outliers determine everything else. So like I said, I think it can get a little silly when it comes to certain things, but I definitely see the point of biology mattering into some points. And I'm sure some of the girls here could compete in like a men's league in any capacity. Like I would literally get my ass whooped in men's and women's, but at the same time, we're also not every single trans woman. Like, we are not the 4 monolith of trans women. So there's like, obviously for each one of us here, there's going to be like 100 behind us, and they're all different.
Clear that
and
he says things that I'm like, yeah, that's totally fair, but it's just like,
so going based on
society is trying
an
to
outlier
destroy
here,
you,
outlier here, I don't really
genuinely.
think that's necessarily the call.
I kind of just wanted to throw this in the middle, more so like a personal thing, like to kind of think about as well. I feel like what we also need to consider is like trans women that are on estrogen as well, because we're talking about hormones and everything. And I feel like when that is thought about, we also kind of need to include that. And if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
Why?
100%.
Because hormones don't actually change the biology or the physical makeup.
That's not what we're saying.
Untrue.
We're not even
So-
saying that.
But she's saying that, and I'm saying that.
She isn't saying that. She's saying that the hormones affect our.
I'm
and they
just kind
do
of like
affect our
throwing it out
biology.
there.
No, I like really don't. I'm like, if there's very few hills I will ever die on, genuinely for me, and I will say this as respectful as I can, this is one. I'm sure besides you, I really am friends with these people. I work in the space with them. I am at Fox News where I'm watching little girls come in and they are competing. I have made a lot of anti-women content in the past, I will say. I try to be as pro-women as possible now. And this is the only hill, if anything, I will die on. I truly believe that sports need to always be separated to, at the end of the day, protect women. I cannot allow the 1% to take over the 99%. And that's it. I hope that came
That
off
was
as
a good way
respectful
of
as
putting
possible.
it.
The transgender movement is imposing its ideology on the younger generation.
Yes. Yes. How?
Okay, so personally, I don't really think it's the transgender movement imposing its ideology on kids so much more as a lot of people who act on behalf of the transgender movement, trying to kind of do the whole, I guess, speak over us, speak for us. We have a lot of people who will come up and say very weird, gross things to kids or about kids. And then, they'll claim trans. But at the end of the day, like a lot of trans women really don't like hold, like, I don't know, we're not, how do I say it, perverted in that way. When someone talks about like a kid, like openly talks about like a kid's genitalia in a place full of kids, and then they're talking about, oh, well, I'm representative of trans women. Well, no, you're not, because most trans women that I know, like none of you ladies would ever think about doing something so disgusting. And so do I think it's the transgender movement imposing its ideology? No, because I also think at some point, you can't force someone cis or trans, but I will say, I think you
I would
can,
disagree with that.
make someone think something about themselves, a young, impressionable kid. But at the end of the day, I really don't think that's on the trans movement. And I don't think you should judge all of trans people for that mistake, because similarly, back in the day, there was a lot of propaganda about gay men doing that. And we now completely agree, gay men don't really do that. And we're kind of sliding back on that a bit due to some cases. But I think it's kind of unfair to put the entire trans space.
And see, I don't even want to. I can kind of see where he's coming from, because, for example, there are some crazy MAGA people that they say things and then people are like, that's MAGA, that's what they think, that's what Trump supporters think. And I'm like, that is not what I think. I don't know why they're being allowed to speak for us. And so maybe that is happening, I will push back on the you can't make anybody trans. You got to look at a Chloe Cole
Based
example.
onto that,
you know?
they're grooming kids or whatever bubble. Even if, I've said and I've protested about certain things like that, and I do agree
See,
about
this is
things
somebody
like
I'd
that,
love
still
to
I
have a
haven't changed my mind on
conversation
that.
with and just
However,
pick
I
their
just don't think
brain
it's
and
all
see
of the
what their
trans
viewpoint
community's
is a
fault,
little
and
bit
I don't
more
think trans
on
people as a
different
whole
things.
should be punished and suffer because of the actions of a few weirdo people who
I
get
just want
blown
to
up.
be accepted. Like, I
Yeah.
just want to be like received the way that I've always meant to be received. I'm not here to like take anything away from you guys. Like,
You
I
are.
uplift. I love women.
Thank
I
you, by
love
the way, because I
keeping-
don't feel that from a lot of
Yeah, I
gay
promise
men,
you,
trans, whatever it
a
is.
lot
I
of
feel
people
so much hate.
a lot of people. I mean, I've seen a couple of the stuff that you've done. I was a little hesitant when I first saw you. I was a little worried.
That's everyone. It's okay.
But I'm seeing the nuance a little bit. And
for
what
sure.
I
She said you were
wanted
beautiful.
coming in here today was to be able to
Please.
have a conversation about like trans women and conservative women, and hopefully we can find a middle ground somewhere. I want
We
you
will
guys
never
to
find a
keep
middle ground.
everything that you have and more. I want you guys to have all of your bodily.
But you don't. You just stood up for men being in women's sports. You want to be in my space. You want to go to the bathroom with me. You want to buy products away from me. How is that you wanting me to keep everything that I have? This will never happen. I don't care if I am the last woman on earth that is like, no, I will not accept you because you need help. Because my heart actually pours out for you. Genuinely.
Autonomy, everything, all of that. I also want the right to mine. And just because you don't understand mine,
You want the right to your bodily autonomy, but your body tells you that you are a man. So clearly you don't want the right to your own
experience
body.
doesn't mean that I should have it taken away or diminished because of the opposite side, I guess.
Can I
need
just say that
help.
trans
That's
women
what I
just
wanna help.
mind their own business? We literally are trying to
No.
live our lives each and every day, trying to survive in a world
No, you're
that
not.
wants to take us out.
You're not.
We're
trying
not
to
trying
mind your own
to push
business.
ideology
If you
on
were, then
anyone.
why
We're
are you on
literally
this
minding our own
platform?
business. I think a lot of, and I'm not saying y'all do this, but I think a lot of conservative folks like to use propaganda against us to make it seem
Like
like we're
what?
pushing this narrative that we want little kids to transition and that we want to do this and want to do that. And that's
Oh,
not
man.
it. We're literally just trying to survive. And I think sometimes this rhetoric does put us against y'all. And
I think I've got to go to Blossom's social media and put in some things because I'd love to see. Now, if I go to his social media and just see pictures, classic social media, my bad. Okay. Now, I don't accept you and I will never, but okay. Maybe you are just trying to live your life. Why do I feel like I'm going to, you know what? We're looking this up right now. I'm going to go on my Instagram and I'm going to look up this Blossom person's social media. All right, most recent for 3 days ago is somebody's repost of misgendering. Okay. This is another one. Okay, this is just a simple through picture. All right, this is the next one, a reaction video. Okay, posting. All right. Going off about Blair White. All right, so you're not minding your business because you're reacting to different clips and inserting yourself into things that if you were just minding your business and trying to survive, you wouldn't.
I see past that for the
odd.
most part. I don't see trans women as an ideology. We're real. We're right here in front of you. Whether you agree with our experience or not, we are here. We're here right here before you. And we are just trying to live our normal lives. So many
just
rights are being
disproved that.
taken away from us little by little. And I just want to make very clear, the same way transphobia affects me, it could affect each and every one of you too. When you go in the bathroom, somebody assumes that you're trans and you experience violence from men because of this whole narrative that has been put on trans women. Because there are some trans women who are just as passable as you all are, even more. And so I just want us to be made aware. Going back to what I said earlier, our liberation is tied. And I just want you to know, trans women like us, we're just minding our own business. We're not
No,
trying to
you're
push
not.
ideology on anything. And like you said,
I gotta pause this. I literally am gonna have to show you guys this. Okay? So I go to his Instagram, all right? And I'm on there. A Blair White reaction. We're just trying to mind our own business. We're not trying to push our ideology, right? Something about Leah Thomas. Okay? We've got another reaction video to things talking about things, but don't worry, I'm not trying to push my ideology. I'm not trying to push my ideology. Don't worry. Another reaction. I go up. Another reaction talking about your ideology, all right? Here, talking to Charlie Kirk, reacting to him. So it's like, and I know she goes, or he, whenever you record that. And I know he goes on like Piers Morgan. So yeah, goes on Piers Morgan, pushing your ideology. So I just find it ironic that this argument, oh, I'm just trying to mind my business. I'm just trying to live my life. I'm just trying to survive out here, girls. Then why are you going on Piers Morgan? Why are you going on the news? Why are you talking about this then? If it's really not that big of a deal, why are you even bringing it up? Why are you even bringing up trans woman? Just be a woman, I guess.
Me trying to live my life should not take anything away from y'all.
Yes.
And you're living your life should not take anything away from me. And so I just think that getting to a place of nuance and understanding nuance is what helps us make the conversation better.
I
Place
cannot
of
hear
nuance.
the word nuance
Yes,
again.
I think there's a middle ground for me. I mean, if you were to ask me my opinion on your lifestyle as a conservative Christian, yeah, it's going to be a little bit more on a certain side. But I think where the middle ground can be is on the topic of children. I feel it's very similar for many conservative Christians is the topic of children gender transitioning is just, tough. It's tough for me to swallow because for the research I've done and the things that I've seen, I think that there's no reason why if a child is expressing gender dysphoria, that we should not wait until they are of the age of consent, the same age that we use to vote, ages to get children.
Sweetheart. This woman's so sweet. I already know though that they're not gonna go. Like she's like, maybe this is middle ground. I can almost guarantee that Blossom is gonna not
tattoos,
agree. I'd be
ages,
shocked.
it's 21 to drink. Something that's far more drastic, like changing your sex organs, like doing gender reassignment surgeries. I think we should wait.
Are you okay
until
with
child-
age 16, 17? Because that's usually the age.
Well, I'm
for
just
that.
using those as examples for like
Okay.
things that we allow children to do that are far less drastic than getting a gender reassignment surgery.
We agree on 18.
Huh?
I mean, 18 is
If
fine.
we could agree on 18, I'd be happy.
18 is fine, but I think in some states it's 16 or 17. So I was wondering, like, is that
Okay.
okay compared? Because it's not like
No,
17.
it's not. It's not okay. I don't even agree with 18 at all. I mean, let's not do this, Emily. Let's not even don't do this. Don't This is the type of thing you don't compromise on. And maybe she's compromising because she's saying let's get it to 18 and then that way we can maybe push it back even farther. I understand that, but don't be like even 18 then I don't get it.
9-year-olds.
That's
It's not that. It's more 16, 17.
Yeah, I was just about to say, actually, I feel like I offer a really unique perspective because I had expressed since I could speak that I was a girl. Again, I grew up in a very conservative household with
I can
two
almost guarantee you
remote,
didn't.
like relatively conservative parents. I didn't know a single gay person. I didn't know a single trans person. In fact, some of the ideology was pushed against me. And I started transitioning medically when I was 24. So I waited a really long time. I expressed my gender identity through the things that I wore and like my just like other secondary things in my appearance, but I waited to make that decision. And if I would have had the opportunity, it probably would have saved me from a lot of things like eating disorder treatments and self-harm and mental health crises.
No,
Because
don't do
to
this,
be quite
please.
transparent with you guys, since I've come out as trans and I've owned my truth and I've started medically transitioning, everything's gone up. Every single thing. I mean, I've gotten more confident. I'm getting promotions at work. I have more of a drive and a desire to be a part of like a functioning society than I ever did before I was medically a woman. You know what I'm saying? So I just really want it to be expressed across the board that like there are people like me and like Blossom and Scarlett and Chrissy that have our experiences as trans women, and it's genuine. It's something real that we went through, and like I wouldn't discount your guys' womanhood. I just
feel awful. Like if that's really true that ever since you were a little boy, you thought that you were a girl, that makes me like genuinely sad that you lived your life like that you've lived your life with a mental disorder and nobody helped you, that you didn't go to therapy to help you, that your family didn't
hope
bring
the
you to
same
church.
from
It just
y'all.
makes
I don't
me,
expect you to
sad.
agree, but
Can I speak on the whole like childhood thing? As someone who's kind of like, not really for like kids transitioning, I think what my take on it is when it comes to the whole grooming thing, what a huge problem in the community is the fact that I will say, I don't think people are called out enough when they do bad behavior. I'll say the gay men community, looping it back to that, they definitely were on top of that when that was a thing, when it's a harsh word, but like pedophile when a pedophile came out, and everyone was like, that's a gay man, because he went after little boys. The gay men community were like, that he's not gay. Like, he could live his whole life as a gay man. The second he does that, he is not gay. He is completely separate from us. And I will say, I think there is a bit of a more need to further it, but part of the reason why predators would even come here is the fact that I think a lot of kids can feel pushed away from their families or something, so they're looking for a community that will accept them, that will do this. And that doesn't mean you have to say like, oh, exactly, you're completely right on everything, this is the correct way. But I would say, if your kid came up to you and was like, hey, I'm feeling this sort of way, actually sit down. Why are you feeling that way? And actually talk and
I agree.
understand what it is.
See, I completely agree. And that point is so interesting to hear from somebody with this perspective, because not only did he say, if your child comes to you, don't jump the gun, ask them, talk to them. But then he said something extremely interesting. He said a lot of kids are feeling pushed away from their families and they turn to us. That's scary. That makes me scared as a parent. It makes me want to have an open line of communication
because
with my daughter.
you never know. Maybe it's not, maybe it is. Who knows? But as long as they know that you're there for them and that you're going to love them, then they're not going to seek that from anyone else, another adult.
Yeah, I was 20 when I transitioned, but here's the thing though, and I just want to affirm a few things you were saying. I understand your uncomfortability, because there's a lot of folks, I think, on both sides that are very uncomfortable. But I'm definitely for a trans child being able to get their gender affirming care, because there is a whole process with it. Like, you have to have a
Absolutely
medical
disgusting.
evaluation. You do have to be a certain age anyways to be able to have surgeries or
Right,
whatnot.
surgery. I'm familiar with the process.
Yeah. Or, hold on. I'm glad that you are, because there's a lot of folks that have not. And so the thing is, a trans child can just transition socially and not have anything medically done,
I don't
or
think
just
they should do
mentally
that.
or environmentally. And so I just want to also bring that to the space too, because I think sometimes people just think that trans kids are just having surgeries at young age, like 7, 8, 9. And I know on the conservative side, a lot of these conservative influencers have run off that propaganda. And I just want to say that's not necessarily what's happening. Like, you have to, like, the doctor has to approve that the child can go
Yeah.
through this. Like, the
We
therapist,
know
they have to
that's
see
the
a therapist
problem.
to make sure this is what you
That's the
want.
problem.
You have to
Understand.
talk to the parents. Like, there's
In
a
the
whole
best
process
case
with that.
scenarios, if you're going to do something as severe as that, I would hope that there was a therapist involved. I would hope that there's different medical counsel. When you say gender affirming care, at first it seemed like you were on board with not doing anything to a child until they're 18. Now I'm hearing gender affirming care, which to my understanding is hormone blockers, right? So you're giving hormone blockers to pause puberty, but then it's always, usually, most of the time, it's followed up by giving like testosterone or estrogen, which we know has effects on the body, right? Puberty is the most important time for a young person, right? It's crazy. Everything is changing. When you're doing puberty blockers, you are doing real damage to a young adult.
They're reversible.
It is
here's the thing,
irreversible.
but I want to, but to your
They're
point
reversible.
though, I just want to,
okay. So let's just let all children get whatever tattoo they want, because you can get tattoos erased. So we should just let them do that.
And so
clarify.
that's just one, like,
Yeah,
you're
let me
saying gender
clarify
affirming
that.
care, but those
Yeah.
are irreversible things, especially when they're done over spans of years. It
Yeah.
affects things like fertility, bone density, and all those things. So
we also have to acknowledge that there are some cis children that are also on puberty blockers as well too, because of health risk. Because there's something called precocious puberty, where little kids are coming into puberty a lot faster, and so for health reasons, they're also able to use those puberty blockers as well too. And so that's kind of
but
what I
not
mean
for
about
the
gender.
extended time that a
affirming care.
child who is trans would.
Not
A child who is
necessarily.
trans. Precocious puberty,
It
if a
just
child-
really depends, because we don't.
That's very.
But when I say gender affirming care, though, I'm not necessarily just talking just about medicine. It could be therapy. It could be just having a support system that could be a part of that as well too. So it's a very broad and expanded thing. And I think what I was just trying to say was, it's not just about surgeries.
Yeah.
It's just not. And I think that's where I have to say, because
It is not just about surgeries. It's about just letting a child live out a lie and explore a lie. It's like when you see those American Idol auditions and they're doing their interview beforehand. They're like, my mom and dad really encouraged me to be here. My friends all told me I should come out and audition. It's been a dream of mine my whole life to sing, right? They get into the audition room and they're awful. They cannot sing and they can't carry a tune. What is your first thought? Where's your mom? Where's your dad? where are your friends? Where are your support system? Not rooted. And why did and when I find that out, right? Why did they root for you in a lie? Why did they lie to you and root for you to join and audition for a show like this when they knew you couldn't, or in this case, when they know you can't?
Like I said earlier, you have to be a certain age to even get the surgeries, but like having a social circle, having a lot of support, and having therapy is a part of that gender affirming care I need.
Socially
So
transitioning.
so I am pro, you know, having a support system with the parents, with the child. And I've also heard that there's some trans kids that don't want to talk to their parents about it because it's not safe to. And I also want to bring that into the picture for the trans youth that can't talk to their parents, they don't feel supported. So yeah.
So in 2022, I ran for a school board. I'm in Orange County, California, and I extensively researched all of the curriculum. And I know that earlier in the conversation, you guys said that you don't push your ideologies onto anybody. You guys just want to live your lives. And I do respect that. But we do have to look at the fact that in the curriculum in public schools today, there is trans ideology and LGBTQ ideology that is pushed in the curriculum that is rooted in Marxism. And that's creating a lot of, no, I'm telling you.
Please. Hilarious. Okay, girl.
Okay, we're interrupting.
You haven't
Okay.
researched it then.
What is Marxism?
Yeah,
What is
please.
Marxism, honey?
Yeah, so it's creating this suicidal ideation in children. And if it's true,
I
trans
could argue this about
kids-
Christian values.
Yeah, trans kids are
So-
35 to
Do
50%
you know
more
why trans
likely.
kids are more likely to kill themselves?
That's what
Because you
I'm
deny
saying.
basic things to them. They can't even play sports with their friends, girl.
But is it they're
Hello?
committing suicide because they can't play sports, or is it because they're trans? Having gender dysphoria.
How would you feel as
already
a
putting
child if
yourself-
people told if they told you every single day you were wrong and nothing about you is real? They constantly denied you spaces. You were not allowed to play in sports. Like these, have you ever met a trans child?
See, and now we're going to emotion. That's the thing. That's why you've constantly heard these people say, let's not talk about the biology. It's too black and white. It's too truth and not truth. And so this guy is going to bring up emotion, and they can't even play sports with their friends. Okay, then let's have parents. Let's bring back parents who tell their children the truth. Telling their children they're wrong every day. I tell my daughter that she's wrong every single day when she does things that aren't good for her. And when she's trying to, my daughter is only one. She already knows what it is like to lie and hide things from me and try to do things away from me. Am I supposed to affirm her in that when she's grabbing toys or trying to grab a knife at the store while my back is turned and I look and I see her doing that? I know that's wrong, but I'm going to affirm her in her actions. So what would you do if you were a child and you were told that you were in the wrong every day? I don't know, live out my life. That's what being a child is, and having a parent is. Being told that you're wrong every day because your parents are here to guide you. And I just want to apologize to these men because it's very apparent to me that your parents didn't do a good job. They didn't guide you into the way that you were supposed to go, and they didn't bring you up in the beautiful way that God created you, which is to be a man.
I have.
And-
I work with several.
Okay,
I've worked
that's
with
great.
50 plus children who are trans. And you know what they like to do? They like to play with their friends. They like to play kickball. They like to go swimming. They like to be children.
Yeah, sinners like
I-
If you
activities.
met a
That's
trans
fair. We're
child, you
still
would not
people.
think anything about them being trans. It doesn't matter to them. They just want to be children.
Well, I think about how it's sad that they've been told that their body they were born in is not
Yes.
enough. You know, a child might
Who
be
told
born
them
with
that?
Okay, so I'll finish my
Girl,
thought.
who said that?
Okay, so
I grew
Go
up
ahead,
in a
finish your
rural
thought.
area.
So you were a child, right? And you said that you were a girl. And I'm sure somewhere along the line, somebody or social media affirmed that and said to
Nobody
you, you're
affirmed
not.
that for me. You're
Okay.
talking out of an experience.
Nobody.
Like,
Nobody affirmed that for you, and yet you have admitted that you have had medical surgeries to make you this way. So clearly somebody did. A doctor did. What does that mean? Nobody's affirmed me. Nobody's affirmed
Point.
you.
hey, babe, listen to me clear. Nobody affirmed that for me, I promise. Years and years and years and years of therapy and self-discovery, and myself is what brought me to that.
Okay, so clearly your therapist affirmed that. Clearly your self-delusion. There are sins that I want to commit that nobody's telling me to commit. Do you know what I'm saying? I've had boyfriends in the past that I've been in serious relationships with and I've cheated on them. That's a sin. Nobody came to me though. My boyfriend didn't come to me and go, "Hey, I really want you to do this. I'm going to affirm you in this sin." I just convinced myself to do it. I just convinced myself because it's a sin. Because we actually have a thing called a conscience, and the devil likes to mess with that. And so, hey, sweetie, hey, babe, nobody affirmed it. The devil did. And I stand behind that. The devil affirmed your sin. You're saying that your therapist did. You're saying that you've had medical surgery. So clearly a doctor has affirmed your sin and your mental disorder. Would you like me to go on?
Promise.
Blair White is literally one of my favorite people. I'm not like, obviously, here's the thing.
I like Blair too.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but at no point you can be like, you're.
See, I don't know a lot about Blair White. I'm just not going to be a fan because of the whole dude ordeal. It's like the whole Caitlyn Jenner thing. You're still Bruce
You're
to me.
anti anything. I live in West Hollywood. Like, be for real. I would go live in fucking Texas. Okay, but it's like at the end of the day, we need to find some sort of common ground. My common ground would be like the one thing in WeHo I cannot stand is the flags. American flag represents all of us. It's all
It
of us.
does not. Not if you're black. Not if you're black.
Okay, so with the BS, yes. So that
Not
would
if
be
you're
my
black.
thing. Let's
Not if
cut
you're
that
black,
shit out.
honey.
American flag.
You don't live
I don't
the
like
black
seeing ugly
experience.
flags
You
all
don't know
over
what
my
you're talking
town.
about.
Another.
Move on. Let's move on.
But also, I'm confused. You work with 50
Let's move
trans
on.
children. Isn't that like kind of crazy? There's all these trans children. That was not a thing when I was growing up.
It's always been a
the
thing,
country.
honey. You're
They
just
come
so
from Idaho. They
dismissed.
come from Ohio. They come from Utah.
You're disconnected,
I'm the most
honey.
open one. I'm just saying that's kind of crazy to me that there's all these trans children
There's
because
way
I don't
more
know trans
than
children.
The
These
men are
trans.
turning on her because she's
And they all
finally
come
said
to
something
one
that's
area.
not here beautiful.
For fun to meet people like them.
No, that's good. I'm not even like
Conservative
putting
women
that
are an
down.
oxymoron to me. There's a lot
Okay,
of
there she
that's
goes.
a
Okay,
lot.
good.
Is
She's
that
not
kinda
putting that
crazy?
down.
It's
Okay.
really not that
Good way to
much.
save your butt,
There's
Emily.
billions
Good
of
job.
biological children who are comfortable with their gender.
conservative women are
Well,
oxymoron.
they should be.
The middle ground, I think we can at least come to some degree, is that actual medicalization on kids too young to be able to consent to something as serious as that is wrong.
I believe everyone should be addressed by their chosen pronouns.
Oh, I gotta gear up for this one.